You're listening to Something to Talk About with Big John, Kinsley Keys, and Billy Ray. Coming to you live from Cosmic Deli in downtown Laurel at Sawmill Square Mall. This show is fueled by Central Sunbelt Federal Credit Union in Laurel, Mississippi.
And Billy Ray, welcome to Oxford, Mississippi. We're coming to you live from the Holiday Inn Express, and I tell you what, it's been a rough week for most of the nation, and I tell you, but we were finishing it up good with some sports this evening, and taking in the beautiful city of Oxford here at the University of Mississippi. Good win by Ole Miss today against Winthrop, 6-2. Great hitting and a great show of power hitting today. What do you think about the game, and what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Big John, we decided to take the show on the road this weekend. We up here in Oxford, taking in the opening series for the Ole Miss Rebels as they took on Winthrop, the Eagles from the Big South Conference. They are located in South Carolina, and Ole Miss came into today's game, and they won it 7-3. Got a 2-run homer, so you experienced your first beer shower out in right field. Of course, we had some great seats, so it was a good job by you getting those seats right behind the third base dugout there, the Ole Miss Rebel dugout. But Ole Miss had a good pitching performance from their sophomore pitcher. I believe his name was Rollinson. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 1 hit, struck out 12 by only walking 2 in 5 innings of work.
Yeah, he did a real good job, and he was very impressive on the mound today. Winthrop had some decent hits at times, but really Ole Miss really was able to get past them and really dominate as far as, they really showed their muscle, and it just goes back to, being in a better conference and just overall a great performance by the Rebels today. Now, I tell you what, down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi State didn't look too good today. Piffington went up against Sandlin, their ace down there, and didn't do so well. They lost 11-0. It's early in the season, and you still got a long weekend ahead. And as we all know, Southern Miss didn't do too well last year in the regionals, so you got to remember that point as well.
Well, Big John, I've been saying all week that USM would probably win 2 out of 3 in this series because it's really meaningless. It's the opening weekend of the series, but when the chips are on the table like last year in the regional, you see what happens. Mississippi State comes out and beats USM. USM had a good performance by their pitcher, Nick Sadlin, today. It was his first ever career start. He pitched 7 innings, gave up 4 hits, struck out 9. He didn't walk a batter, so good performance by him. And USM did dominate 11-0 in front of maybe I heard just under 5,000 fans on a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. Weather down there was a lot warmer than it is up here. We left Laurel this morning about 10:30. Believe it was 73 degrees, reading the thermometer on my car. And up here at game time this afternoon, up here in Oxford at OU Stadium, it was 43 degrees at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it dropped 30 degrees from our trip up, 4-hour drive up Highway 55.
Yeah, I tell you what, you could really tell the temperature difference. Earlier today I was thinking, maybe the weather can hold off, but it didn't. So it's fine, though, because, that's what baseball season is all about. You can expect rain, you can expect cold weather, and you can expect rain delays. So that's all mixed in with baseball in this, in this time of the year. Now, it's better down here than it is up north because some of those guys aren't even able to practice yet, and most of those guys have indoor facilities like Minnesota, Syracuse, and a lot more other programs, in the Midwest and other regions that are used to cold weather. So you got to really consider that fact, and we've had some good weather up until this weekend, and it really just the bottom fell out.
Yeah, you have a lot of northern teams come down to the South to play these opening series beginning of the year. NCAA really has this NCAA baseball starting probably a little too early, but there's really nothing you can do about it because at the end of the year, all these college kids, they go off to play these summer leagues when they try and, getting pro baseball aspirations. But so if you move the season back a couple of weeks to March, then you're gonna be running into their season. So there's really nothing they can do.
But if you look at that, at the same time, if you do move it back to March, you can cut down on some of these, useless, pointless games against, these under teams, which I know some of these mid-major teams, a lot of them depend on, getting good quality, opponents, such as SEC conference schools. And so you really got to look at that because that helps them later on in their conference. Looking at Winthrop, last year they had a record of 34-24 and went 17-7 in the Big South Conference, which isn't bad. 17-7, that's a pretty good, statement in their league.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I've been up to the NCAA tournament up here before in Oxford where we host a regional, and we had like Bethune-Cookman in our regional. Bethune-Cookman is a historically black college and university. They'll play non-conference teams. They'll pretty much lose every one of them until they get into their conference, and they'll win their conference. But they end up having like a losing record. But they get in the tournament because they play tougher teams. When they get into their league, they can win.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, looking at the series tomorrow down in Hattiesburg, I'm not sure what the weather report is supposed to be down there, but I think rain, it's going to be raining all across the state. And so hopefully they can get in that game tomorrow, and it may be, a doubleheader on Sunday, but, you can never tell. Also, you got to give credit this week, Mississippi State going on the road to Vanderbilt. I watched the game. State kind of slowed down the score, and they could have doubled them up. Ended up beating them 95-50. But, it's getting that time of the year. And the guys, they've choked the last couple games, and they're going to be playing the Rebels tomorrow on the court. So that's going to be should be an interesting matchup. And, the Bulldogs are trying to get into the NCAA tournament. I doubt they get in. I think more like the NIT for them. But winning a few down the road against South Carolina and Tennessee, you got to beat Ole Miss tomorrow to start things off, though, for them to really even have a chance at getting into the big dance.
Now, you were saying Mississippi State played Vanderbilt and they won 90-something to 50-something. You were talking about the girls.
Yes, I was.
You did not specify girls. You just said Mississippi State. You didn't say girls.
Well, I'm pretty sure most people out there listening knows what I'm talking about. Unless they live under a rock, then they know about the Lady Bulldogs.
Well, we have certain people who might listen to us who do their own radio show down in Hattiesburg who know no idea about sports, but they do know about Star Wars.
That is true, which we heard a interesting topic and conversation going on here earlier about Star Wars.
We did.
So, you can never tell, about the interesting facts, of sports and what people may know. But I was talking about the Lady Bulldogs, 26 or 27-0, going to be playing Texas A&M on Sunday. So a big game there. And I believe that game is out in College Station, I believe. So a tough environment, and it may be in Starkville. I'm not exactly sure. I guess I should be more, knowledgeable, but,
It's women's basketball. It's not really that big a deal. But with the game being Sunday against Texas A&M, Mississippi State, after beating Vanderbilt, they have won a share of the SEC. If they go ahead and beat Texas A&M, they go ahead and probably win the SEC outright.
Yeah, Texas A&M's a tough team, and they're going to really have to bring their A game, and they're going to have to play some tough ball. But they did that against South Carolina, and they've kind of had an easy street, I guess you could say. But if you look at it, I think they're going to do really well. And unless they just fall off the wagon, they should win the SEC and should go undefeated the rest of the way.
I look for Mississippi State to make a deep run into the NCAA tournament in women's basketball, but they got an awful big monster in UConn, who's also undefeated and is number 1 in the country. And UConn may be wanting a little bit of revenge since they knocked them off of that 100-game winning streak they had last year.
Yeah, I had a chance to look at the schedule and the projections, and with them being probably more than likely number 1 seeds, they would be in opposite brackets, but would meet not in the championship, but the round just before that in the Final Four. So I'm not sure what you call that one before the championship, but semifinals, that's right. And so, that should be a interesting and very well coached game between two great coaches.
Well, I would think number 1 and number 2 ranked teams will be in separate brackets and meet up in the championship game. I wouldn't think they meet up in the semifinals. But switching gears, tomorrow is Mississippi State hosting Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl version of the basketball. Ole Miss won the first game. The game was played up here in Oxford. Ole Miss is going to be coming in needing a victory. We've been on a losing streak. We have decided to part ways with Andy Kennedy. We're looking for a new coach next year, so I'll look for Ole Miss to come into Mississippi State, pull up an upset tomorrow.
I kind of think the other way. I kind of think that Mississippi State really needs a win. They've lost 2 back-to-back close games. One questionable calls by the referees. I think sometimes, they really get into the game and they become more spectators than they actually do officials. And so I think that needs to improve. But overall, I think State might get them. I think it's going to be a close game, though. It's going to come down to the wire. And, if State can win that one and maybe South Carolina or Tennessee down the road and then possibly win a game or 2 in the tournament, I think they might get in.
For State to get into the NCAA tournament, they're going to have to win a couple more regular season games. And I think with the SEC tournament being in St. Louis, I think they play like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Mississippi State's going to have to play into that Friday game to get a shot in the NCAA.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I think they're going to go to the NIT, and I think they will make the NIT tournament, which is, much welcomed after not being in any kind of postseason play since like 2010. So I think that's welcomed. But we're going to go to a break now, and so you guys hang around and check out our sponsors. And also thanks to Holiday Inn Express here in Oxford, Mississippi, here on Jackson Avenue. A great bunch of people here, and, they're letting us hang out here and do the show. So thanks, guys, here, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
The Chef Sheet Cake is Laurel's newest bakery, located at 1519 Bushberry Road across from Mississippi AG. Chef Sheet Cake specializes in some of the best baked goods around the free state. You should try some of the cupcakes. They also offer some cool cake decorating classes for everyone. So why not give Ashley a call at 601-333-7999 for your next party, get together, or church social. Take it from us, they know their sweets. Tell them you heard about them or something to talk about.
Flicka's Tax Service in Taylorsville offers free 1040Zs and free estimates. With over 50 years combined tax experience, this team is up to date on current tax changes and specializes in preparing all federal and state returns, including corporations. They can prepare W-2s and 1099s, as well as assist in obtaining EINs for new businesses. Stop by Flicka's Tax Service on Highway 28 in Taylorsville for fast, friendly service at a great price. Or call 601-785-6900. Hub City Madness is about making people aware of the various forms of rock music that is lived and made in our great city of Hattiesburg. Mississippi is the birthplace of rock and roll, and we need to act accordingly. Hub City Madness takes place at the Thirsty Hippo in downtown Hattiesburg on Saturday, March 24th at 6 p.m. and Sunday, March 25th at 4 p.m. We will have 20 bands, and they're all from Hattiesburg. The bands are as follows: Flipside Radio, Stella Tongue, Under Orbit, Mississippi Shakedown, Piss Fist,